winter of bitter political activity and concern about how many teams would actually be taking part, the Formula One world has reformed for the first Grand Prix of 1990 here on the tough and demanding 2.4-mile circuit at Phoenix, Arizona. And it does so amidst major changes in the top teams which could well affect their chances of success. After 5 wonderful years and 3 world championships with McLaren, a fiercely motivated Alain Prost moves to Ferrari to carry the prestigious #1. It's Nigel Mansell's second season with Ferrari, and he's always said that 1990 was his target year for the World Championship. So, will #2 finish as #1? Ferrari have certainly got the drivers, and their V12 semi-automatic gearbox car has been a revelation in the winter testing. McLaren's top man is #27, Ayrton Senna. After a winter of political conflict, he's grimly determined to regain the championship he lost last year. For 2 years, Gerhard Berger's been #28 for Ferrari, but this year he's #28 for McLaren. Gerhard and Ayrton have got a hard job, for although the McLaren-Honda team has dominated Grand Prix racing since 1987, the competition's much tougher this year. It's an all-new lineup at Lotus, with the ebullient Derek Warwick leading the team into his 10th season. Derek's yet to win a Grand Prix, but 11 could be his lucky number this year. And 1990 is going to be the hard-charging Martin Donnelly's chance to shine in the second Lotus after major successes in Formula 3 and Formula 3000. New drivers, new car and new engine. For this year, Lotus are using V12 Lamborghini power. Last year, #5, the quiet, smooth-driving Belgian Thierry Boutsen, won 2 Grand Prix for Williams, and his teammate is again Grand Prix's most experienced driver, Riccardo Patrese. With a new Renault V10 engine, the Williams team target is the Constructors' Championship. Alessandro Nannini won his first Grand Prix in Japan last year, but this year, 3 times world champion Nelson Piquet is Benetton's new team leader. Will the updated Benetton with its exclusive Ford V8 engine be good enough? We'll soon know. Sadly, Johnny Herbert isn't in a Grand Prix team this year, though he'll be testing for Lotus. And Martin Brundle has left the Brabham team to race sports cars for Jaguar, a real loss to Formula One. Another driver without a Grand Prix seat is Jonathan Palmer, but he's going to be telling us about the problems drivers face at this year's circuits.
The way these cars stop may look undramatic, but for the driver it's the most violent part of racing, accidents aside. When he stamps on the brake pedal, he'll experience 4 times as much force, 3.5 G, as the best family cars performing an emergency stop. To put that in perspective, 180 miles per hour to 0 takes just 4 neck-straining seconds, the time needed by a family car to stop from a mere 60. Is it any wonder, therefore, that without this full harness seatbelt, he'd be instantly thrown forward out of his seat? There are 2 reasons for this phenomenal stopping ability. Firstly, the cars have a vast amount of sheer grip. These enormous slick tyres biting the road even better because they're being pressed hard into the ground by around 2 tons of aerodynamic downforce. And of course, secondly, immensely powerful brakes have to be used to take full advantage of all this grip. The pedal itself is tailored to suit the driver's foot, while a cockpit adjustable brake balance control helps him prevent the front or rear wheel skidding. The brake discs and pads are made of carbon fibre, being lighter and biting better than conventional steel. Operating at 400 degrees C, they glow red hot, and these big air scoops are vital for cooling. What makes life hard for brakes is frequent heavy use in hot temperatures, and at Phoenix we have exactly that. Problems can result from overheating or simply worn-out brakes, although with no power assistance, even if the car doesn't wilt, the driver's foot very well might.
As in any form of sport, the dream of a Formula One driver is to reach the top, to be world champion. As McLaren teammates, Ayrton Senna and Alain Prost both achieved their dream, but it turned each's life into a nightmare. In 1988, they nearly came to blows on the racetrack, and the relationship between the 2 McLaren men went downhill. A year later, they did crash. The title went to Prost, and hard words followed.
I was blamed for everything, and I was penalized for everything. I was treated like a criminal.
One way or the other, the appeal is against me. you know, and it's very difficult for me to accept that, because what I've done for the team in the last 6 years is quite important.
Englishman Nigel Mansell has always given his all in his dream of a world championship. In 1987, it nearly cost him everything. A year earlier, Mansell had his closest brush with achieving his dream, but a blown tire broke his suspension and his heart. In 1989, he opened the season with a Cinderella victory for Ferrari before the clock struck midnight again. Throughout the world, billions of Ferrari fans have been starved for a world championship for more than a decade. For the last 3 seasons, they have shared their dream with Gerhard Berger. But instead of delivering on the dream, Berger has provided 3 seasons of tantalizing frustration for Ferrari fans, and like Mansell, has nearly paid for his dream with his life. In the end, Berger's championship dream was derailed by a streak of 10 straight non-finishes. And with it went his enthusiasm for the brand of the prancing horse. Despite a late-season victory, Gerhard Berger was through at Ferrari. As the 1990 season begins, Alain Prost is partner to Nigel Mansell at Ferrari, while Gerhard Berger has taken his dream to McLaren, where he will fight with the sport's fastest man, Ayrton Senna. In the world of Formula One, everything is larger than life, including the rivalry between the sport's 2 top teams and the dreams of a driving championship. And each year, only one driver's dream can come true. ESPN, the world leader in motorsports coverage, presents Speed World. Phoenix, Arizona, formerly a trading village on the Salt River that launched the dreams of the westward-moving pioneers, today will launch the dreams of 26 men from around the world who would be Formula One world champion in 1990. Hello, everyone. I'm Bob Barsha. When the Formula One teams last visited Phoenix, the temperature topped 110 degrees. But by moving the race from June to March to begin the 1990 schedule, we have achieved a 50-degree drop in temperature that has had a pronounced effect on these fabulous race cars. Grand Prix and World Champion are much abused terms in motorsports, but what you're about to see is the beginning of a 16-race schedule that is truly a globe-girdling world championship aiming for a great prize, the Grand Prix. Everything about Formula One racing is larger than life, including the checkbooks. And for more on that, I'd like to welcome back my regular Formula One colleague here on ESPN, David Hobbs. David?
Well, Bob, let's just start with the cars. To the casual observer, an Indy car and a Formula One car look very similar, and they have their own rules and regulations according to engine size and car weight and so on. But Indy cars as well have specific rules to keep the cost of racing down. This certainly does not apply to Formula One cars, where technological advancement is absolutely awesome, as is the cost. The top drivers, too, are in a world of their own when it comes to money. The 4 drivers you've already seen featured today, this year will take home about $36 million in salary, excluding prizes and bonus. Compare that with Darrell Waltrip, who after 18 years has just reached his first $10 million. We've just come off a long winter season, but even the off-season in Formula One is expensive. More on that. Let's go down to John Bisignano.
David, it's been 18 weeks since the Formula One fraternity has left Australia. No racing during that period of time, but what has taken place is some of the most intense testing in the history of Formula One. Everyone up and down this pit lane, they are totally committed to closing the technical gap. Ferrari, with their brand new engine, Alain Prost, has done thousands of miles, and he does say that soon he will be able to go head-to-head with the McLarens. The Benetton team has formed the greatest organization in their history. Frank Williams, with the Renault-powered cars, went all the way to South Africa just for secrecy. Everyone in Formula One over the past 2 years has been dreaming of a more competitive situation amongst the teams. Well, with the information out of testing this year, that dream may become a reality. Now, how does that affect things here in Phoenix? Let's go down to Marty Reed and find out.
Thanks, John. Hello again, everybody. You know, the first race of the season is always filled with anticipation and excitement, but never more so in the last couple of years in Formula One than this year. Take a look behind me. This is row 2. Jean Alesi in a Tyrrell alongside Andrea de Tejras in a Dallara. Then up in the front row, starting second, Pierluigi Martini in the Minardi, right alongside our pole sitter, Gerhard Berger in the McLaren. What's going on? Well, in all honesty, the rain did put a damper on anybody's attempt to move the positions around in the qualifying yesterday. But a number of teams, for the first time in several years, feel that they have a good opportunity to move into the top 5 of the upper echelon. What about the Ferraris? Well, Alain Prost is going to start 7th, and Nigel Mansell is buried in 17th.
Thank you, Marty. The Ferrari's just one of the stories yet to play out as we await the start of the first Grand Prix of the 1990s. Formula One enters its 5th decade right here on ESPN. We'll introduce the grid to you in just a moment. ESPN Speed World coverage of the Iceberg United States Grand Prix is brought to you by Acura. Experience an Acura, the most satisfying automobile in America 3 years in a row. By Quaker State, the Big Q is one tough motor oil. And by Firestone. Watch us, we're on the move. You can feel the tension level rising. 26 cars are on the grid and we await the command to start engines. It's the Iceberg US Grand Prix. Stay with us.
Mesdames, Mesdemoiselles, Messieurs, bonjour, ici Phoenix, ou plutôt bonsoir, puisqu'il est 22h à peu près chez vous, il est à peu près 14h de l'après-midi ici, au cœur du désert de l'Arizona, à Phoenix, où paradoxalement la température est frisquette. Il doit faire entre 10 et 12 degrés. Il a plu beaucoup hier et il faut dire que la Formule 1 a beaucoup de malchance, puisque il pleut entre 10 et 12 jours par année et il a fallu que ce soit ce deuxième week-end de mars, mais rassurez-vous, la piste est parfaitement sèche et si la température est fraîche, la pluie ne menace pas et en principe, nous devrions avoir une course se déroulant entièrement sur piste sèche. Les images que vous voyez là ne sont pas des images directes, ce sont des images enregistrées. Lorsque nous sommes arrivés mercredi soir ici à Phoenix, eh bien c'est le temps et le panorama que nous avons rencontré avec une température de l'ordre de 25 à 30 degrés. Dans cette ville qui a vraiment grandi comme un champignon, c'est un endroit qui était habité par les Indiens en l'an 500 après Jésus-Christ déjà. Il y avait déjà quelques tribus et puis c'est devenu à la fin du siècle dernier un État.
Vediamo quindi immagini che arrivano da Phoenix, la parola a Mario Poltronieri ed Ezio Zermiani.
Buonasera da Phoenix, le immagini che vedete sono state registrate in questi giorni, il tempo qui è ancora coperto e molto freddo rispetto alle abitudini, per illustrarvi questo stato del Grand Canyon, come viene chiamato nelle targhe automobilistiche. Dalla nostra parte introduttiva con i servizi filmati già sapete molto di quello che è successo per questa presentazione, per questa preparazione del primo dei 16 Gran Premi della 41esima edizione del campionato del mondo di Formula 1. Diciamo quindi subito le notizie che ancora non vi sono arrivate, quelle dell'ultima ora, e cioè come è andato stamani il warm-up, cioè la mezz'ora di prove per vedere le messe a punto e l'assetto di gara delle vetture che sono state preparate durante la notte. Ancora una volta Senna è stato il più veloce con il tempo di 1:30.458 a 1:51.153 di media, una media bassa che vi dimostra come sia tormentato questo tracciato. Un tracciato dove si cambia 37 volte per ogni giro, un giro è di 3.800 metri con 2 occasioni per utilizzare addirittura la prima. Secondo miglior tempo di stamani Alesi con la Tyrrell in 1:30.985, terzo è Berger con la seconda McLaren, quarto Bernard con la Lamborghini, la Russe. Questo Eric Bernard è un altro pilota da tenere d'occhio come Alesi, sono i 2 uomini di punta della pattuglia francese. Quinto Prost con la prima delle 2 Ferrari, seguito da Patrese con la Williams-Renault, da Martini con la Minardi Ford, da Modena, Nakajima, Warwick, Grugliar, Mansell è al 12° tempo, quindi Larini, Foytek, Suzuki, Alboreto, Nannini, Butzen, Barilla, Schneider, Piquet, Gugelmin, Donnelly, De Cesaris che ha sbattuto piuttosto violentemente e non si è ancora certi che la macchina possa essere rimessa alla perfezione per consentirgli di difendere al meglio la sua terza posizione sulla griglia di partenza. A concludere Moreno e Capelli e vediamo lo schieramento di partenza. In prima fila Berger e Martini, come vedete intanto siamo tornati con l'immagine in diretta sul rettilineo di partenza di questo Gran Premio. Seconda fila per De Cesaris Alesi. Ecco, intanto abbiamo un'altra registrazione, è stata ottenuta, sono ben 4 le telecamere montate sulle vetture, sono le 2 Arrow e le 2 Williams, e una registrazione di come si presenta questo tracciato, mentre nella parte bassa del teleschermo in sovrimpressione vedete nel disegno in che punto del tracciato la vettura sta andando. Ecco, è una delle occasioni in cui si utilizza la prima, di cui vi ho parlato. Le velocità di punta, vi dico subito, sono state stamani, cioè in assetto di gara, ottenute dalle 2 Ferrari. Il punto più veloce, 270 all'ora, è stato appannaggio di Mansell. La velocità sul traguardo è stata di Prost, 241. Ieri col bagnato le velocità erano state rispettivamente la massima 232 e sul traguardo 222. Le curve sono 14, di cui 9 a sinistra e 5 a destra. Mentre si sta completando questo giro, ritorniamo allo schieramento di partenza. Prima fila dunque Berger Martini, seconda De Cesaris Alesi, terza fila per Senna, Piquet, quarta per Prost e Gerhard, 3 campioni del mondo per complessivamente 7 titoli raccolti in un fazzoletto. Quinta fila Butzen e Modena, sesta Nakajima e Patrese, a seguire Larini Barilla, Bernard Moreno, Mansell Suzuki, Donnelly Schneider, Alboreto Nannini, Foytek Warwick, Gugelmin e Capelli. Come vedete una situazione che si presenta in modo diverso rispetto alle gare dell'anno passato, anche se questo circuito naturalmente va visto come atipico rispetto alla media dei tracciati delle gare di campionato del mondo di Formula 1, trattandosi di un percorso stradale cittadino. Ma dicevamo, l'inserimento ai vertici della Minardi, della Dallara, della Tyrrell e della stessa Osella, che occupa l'8° posto insieme ai grandi McLaren, Ferrari, Benetton e Williams, dimostrano che anche i team minori si sono avvicinati alla prestazione dei maggiori. Quali saranno le possibilità lo vedremo poi naturalmente nel corso di questa gara, che dopo il balletto dei giri, lo si potrebbe dire, finalmente ci dice quanto è lunga. Si era cominciato dicendo che erano 75 giri come lo scorso anno, 284 km, però siccome lo scorso anno si arrivò al limite delle 2 ore consentite, la vittoria di Prost infatti fu ottenuta in 2 ore e 01, si pensò di passare, non si capisce bene perché, a 81 giri per poi ripiegare su 72 giri. La corsa dunque si disputa su 72 giri di un tracciato di 3.800 metri per un totale di 273 km e 500. Intanto vedete correre sul teleschermo la griglia di partenza di cui vi ho parlato. Facciamo un po' il conto della situazione piloti. Sono presenti in gara 9 italiani, 4 francesi, 4 brasiliani, 3 inglesi, 2 giapponesi e rispettivamente un austriaco, un belga e per quel che riguarda le vetture abbiamo 6 vetture italiane come team più le 2 Benetton che però tutto sommato vanno considerate più un team inglese come nascita. Nelle prequalifiche si erano qualificati Moreno, Bernard, Gerhard e Suzuki. I record sono tutti appannaggio di Prost per quello che riguarda le velocità di punta nei giri, sia in corsa sia in gara, mentre Prost è stato il più veloce nella corsa. Vediamo la classifica dello scorso anno, dove su 26 partenti ne arrivarono al traguardo 9. Prost vinse in 2 ore 01 e 33, precedendo Patrese, Civer, Tanner, Herbert, Bussen, Tarquini, De Cesaris e Palmer. Io darei la linea a Zerbiani per sentire.
Good evening and welcome to Wide World of Sports coverage of round 1 of the 1990 Grand Prix season. Round 1 is the Phoenix Grand Prix, and to help me with the coverage of that, Barry Sheen.
How you doing? It's going to be quite difficult getting used to seeing Prost in a Ferrari and Berger in a McLaren. I'm sure we're going to get mixed up to start with.
Well, there's a lot of different helmets and a lot of different cars, that's for sure, and it's a very unusual grid for this evening's race.
Yeah, because the first practice session was in the dry and the second qualifying session was in the rain, so Friday's time stand. See Berger, Martini in the Minardi, De Cesaris, Jean Alesi, Ayrton, Senna and Nelson Piquet. Piquet in the first 6 makes a change, doesn't it?
Yeah, I don't think it's very indicative, really, because the second day, as you said, was wet, and I think it would be a slightly different grid if they would have had the 2 days of drive, because Prost is in 7th, Grullo up in 8th, Boots in 9th, Modena in 10th, Nakajima qualified really well to get up in 11th, and Patrese down in 12th.
Yeah, poor old Nigel on the 10th row of the grid, so he's going to have his work cut out.
17th position, but knowing Nigel will have a go, he'll fight his way through. There's Alesi in the Tyrrell. We've got 30 seconds to go.
Welcome back to Phoenix, Arizona, where engines have been fired, and we're just moments away from the start of the 1990 Formula One season here on ESPN. Bob Varsha, David Hobbs with you, Marty Reed, and John Bizignano along pit road. As the final thoughts play through the minds of the drivers, 26 men about to launch on the United States Grand Prix. Weather conditions here in Phoenix, 50 degrees cooler than they were last June when these drivers last took to the streets. The wind
team, of course, will be using Honda engines next year. A very special welcome to all the people that work for the teams back at base. A lot of people put amazing amount of man-hours into these cars, and while each team has about 30 race mechanics, a lot of teams have as many as 120 other people back at base. And I know that all the Williams members are at their conference centre watching us live on Eurosport. So to the people at Williams, hello there. Sheridan Finn sends his regards.
You know, one thing about all these people sitting back at home and watching, there's an enormous, and poor Martin Donnelly had a problem in practice this morning. His car, the engine was giving trouble, it wouldn't start, and in fact they thought it might have momentarily seized, and it seems they haven't cured that problem because they're not able to start the car on the air starter. The team are pushing it, and I think that might be the end of Martin's race. It's a great, great shame because he was quickest in the wet time session yesterday afternoon, and now his race looks like it's even over before it began.
If he gets it going, of course, he'll have to start at the back of the grid. He can't take up his original position. Martin Donnelly hoping to start his second ever Grand Prix. Remember, he deputised for Derek Warwick in France last year, driving for Arrows, and this doesn't look good for Martin at all.
No, I think Martin's, if they can get that car started at all, it's going to have to be done from the pit lane, and of course he will join the race after the red light goes to green. But I would have said that the prospect of that car starting and joining the Grand Prix is not looking very good right at this stage.
Those Lamborghini engines, the Lotus team have found out, use an awful lot of oil, or actually need a lot of oil to keep them working well.
Yes, they're an engine that seems to require a large reserve of oil, and they haven't really, Lotus have not really got to terms with the engine, its characteristics, and unfortunately they're having to learn at the very first Grand Prix.
We've seen that weaving a lot before, getting the heat into the tyres. What about tyres, John? Are we going to see any pit stops in this race?
Well, all the Goodyear runners are running on their C compound tyre, and they're anticipating that tyre will be man enough to see the car through the race without a pit stop. The Pirelli runners are all running on their middle compound, and they're anticipating they all can go through, but they're not totally confident. If they have to make a pit stop, they will come in and they will fit their even softer race compound, which of course will give them an advantage, but that may only offset the disadvantage of having to make a pit stop in the first place.
Well, John, just before the start, we'll take a quick commercial break. Stay with us on Eurosport. Okay, well, they're weaving around. No commercial break there. We're bidding one up a little bit later. There's Roberto Moreno. There is the Ferrari. Guri Suzuki going through the field. The two Arrows, Nannini, and we see out of the camera on the car. And in fact, it's lucky we're not going to that break because the race is just about to start. Everyone coming up, taking their positions. Looks as if it's going to be 25 cars, not 26. The cars now, engines revving. Drivers, their hearts beating. I don't think you can stop your pulse rate going up at this moment, John, can you?
No, your pulse rate at this stage is running very, very high. In fact, at one stage, all the drivers had monitors fitted to them, and your heart rate was fluctuating between 150 and 200 beats per minute, and that's pretty high. But once the red light goes to green, that'll drop dramatically. But there'll be peaks and troughs throughout the race, but it's a fairly stressful situation, and everybody really now is looking for those lights to change.
Well, it's going to be a fast run down Jefferson Street. Most of these cars over 600 horsepower. There you see in the inset the lights that'll go to red. Green flag waving in the back. Everyone's in line. The red light. full of fuel, and indeed, look at that, John, diving through on the inside.
Jean Alesi did what I expected him to do. He's got a lot of grip from his Pirelli tyres, and he is going to lead this race and then stamp his... Oops, and we had a little bit of a shunt. One of the Benettons has lost bodywork. Go to Williams. Oops, and another car behind has lost bodywork also. Yeah, one of the two Williams, I think it was Patrese' car, lost the nose and the front wing, so he'll be in the pit straight away at the end of the first lap.
Yes, it's Alesi first. Second is Gerhard Berger. Fourth, De Cesaris. But third, De Cesaris. Fourth, it's Ayrton Senna. Senna already made up 2 places. Alesi, a fantastic start from the Frenchman, from Avignon. Already the Minardi has dropped back to 5th position. Can't see any obvious signs of that carbon fibre bodywork flying, but it's... well, we're going to see the start now from the camera car. Well,
there you go. Ricciardo's nose, front wings, the whole lot. In fact, it landed on top of his head. So that's what we saw, I think, bouncing in the middle of the track, and another car behind did hit it. But look at Alesi. He's probably pulled out the best part of a second. We're still not yet at the end of 1 lap.
Alesi, Berger, De Cesaris, Senna charging hard. Then Martini. Prost down in about 10th position. End of lap number 1. Jean Alesi leads his first ever Grand Prix. Throws away a tear strip. Only the 9th Grand Prix of his career.
He has just come into the pits. The Williams mechanics have put a stand under the front of the car. They have to have a look and see if there's any other damage, because the bodywork is attached to the chassis, and maybe the chassis mounts themselves are damaged. This is what those Williams folk back in Didcot are not wanting to see.
The lineup at the end of the first lap: Alesi, Berger, De Cesaris, Senna, Martini, Piquet, Boutsen, Modena, Prost, Gerhard, Nakajima, Bernard, Barilla, Larini, Suzuki, Mansell, Alboreto, Warwick, Moreno. Work still going on here in the Williams pit, and work too. Bernd Schneider in the Arrows pit, putting on new tyres as well, John.
Well, I think so. I think he probably was the car that ran into the nose from Patrese' Williams, so he's had to come in and make a quick pit stop. He may have locked up the brakes and, of course, flat spotted one of his tyres, so that was a pit stop that was necessary for him to just check the car out. But look at Alesi going. He is absolutely driving to the limit, and the benefit he has right now is a tyre that works more efficiently in the low temperatures that we've got today. But of course, McLaren, they're on Goodyear tyres. They need maybe 2 or 3 laps for their race tyres to come up to operating temperature. And I imagine that within the next number of laps we will see Berger and Senna making progress. But
crashing in Friday's practice session, and because it was wet on Saturday, had no chance to make the grid.
Just watching Riccardo Patrese, of course, he's now a lap down. He's just rejoined the race, and he's in the middle of the front bunch. He's got...
In fact, the lap record 1:33.969, so it's been shattered on the first flying lap. Lap 3, Alesi, Berger, De Cesaris, Senna, Martini, Piquet. Showers of sparks into the face of Thierry Boutsen. Boutsen having a little look down the inside.
Yes, he ran down. He was trying to have a little look down the inside of Nelson Piquet, but you may have seen his right hand come up to his helmet, and I think what he was doing was peeling off one of the rip-offs he has on his helmet. So there may be either some oil or oil vapor coming out of one of the cars directly ahead of him, and he may be bothered with a little bit of misting on the visor. So Boutsen already having to start to trip off those rip-offs. Normally a driver will carry 2 in a race of this nature, in a street race where the cars do tend to run together, run very closely together. And already one of the Ferraris, looks like Prost's car is blowing out some oil smoke. Just coming around the corner we saw a little haze of oil, blue oil smoke. So maybe Alan Prost's race isn't going to be quite as long as he was anticipating.
There's Thierry Boutsen. Boutsen running in 6th spot.
And he's in 6th gear now, reaching about 165, 170 miles an hour. And Prost having a dive down the inside of Modena, and he has made it. But he struggled to do that. Modena, he had a go at him the lap before, and he didn't quite make it. This time he did get through, but it was a sort of touch-and-go effort. Modena wasn't terribly keen to concede the corner, but he finally had to, and Prost has now moved up 1 place.
It's on a street circuit like this, so easy to tangle those walls. You make a mistake of 3 or 4 inches, it means serious damage, whereas on a normal racing circuit, you get away with it, John.
Well, you have, but see how wide the road is. Well, that road width, in fact, is effectively only about 3 lanes wide. We've kept up this pace, even though we are only into 1/7 race distance. He's just going away and away.
Quick lap now from Alain Prost, his quickest lap so far. He's doing a 1:34.4. Look, Jean Alesi. His parents come from Sicily, but he was born in France, and there is Ayrton Senna. Well, the #1 driver in Grand Prix racing, perhaps chasing the #1 driver of the future, John Watson.
And I don't think he's going to be, he's not going to have to wait too long into the future. I think what we're seeing from Jean Alesi is really absolutely wonderful. He is a young guy, and he seems to have such maturity and a young head, and what he's done to Tyrrell, how he's lifted the team just in himself, plus all the other elements that have gone into the rejuvenated team for 1990. He, I think, is ultimately the key element of that rejuvenating package.
Yes, Jean Alesi, another of the discoveries from fellow Irishman Eddie Jordan. Eddie was telling me in the pits the other day that over a third of the field has actually driven for him at one time or another.
Well, Eddie is a great entrepreneur, and he brought along Jean Alesi. Had a pretty awful year in 1988, took him into his team for 89. He won the Formula 3000 Championship, and also his teammate his teammate Martin Donnelly, of course, won many other races as well. And in Eddie's opinion, there's no difference in speed between Martin Donnelly and Jean Alesi, so let's look forward to great things from Martin Donnelly in the future as well.
Difference in speed today, though, because Martin Donnelly was unable to start the race. The Lotus team could not fire up the Lamborghini engine. He was pushed off the grid, so only 25 starters. John, I was going to say, if our director stayed on that shot, I'd like you to take us through the gear changes. Let's wait till we get that in-car shot back for that situation. There we are,
yep. Right, he's into 4th gear, back into 3rd gear.
All the corners are basically 3rd gear or 2nd gear, aren't they?
Yes, these are really slow corners. Of course, within the next 5 or 8 laps to put on another set of those Pirelli tyres, but so far, what he has done has been absolutely stunning.
Moreno there, already been lapped. Let's recap on the positions. After 11 laps, Jean Alesi leads. 2nd, Ayrton Senna. 3rd is Andrea de Cesaris. 4th, Nelson Piquet. Nice to see him up in the top 6 again. 5th, Thierry Boutsen. 6th, it's Alain Prost. 7th, Pierluigi Martini. Then in 8th place, Stefano Modena. 9th, Satoru Nakajima. And in 10th place, the Lola Lamborghini of Eric Bernard. Behind him, Nigel Mansell. And following Nigel Mansell, Oliver Gerhard.
This time Boutsen is having another look at Nelson Piquet. He seemed to be close enough, but not really.
Gerhard Berger has got his car back to the pits.
Until he can get around this trio, or until he can lead this trio, he's got no chance.
These are the 3rd, 4th, and 5th place cars. McLaren pit stop, here's John.
We have Gerhard Berger. He has found the way out of the tires. He must have had a push start. Now the engine stops. They changed all 4 tires very rapidly. Looking at the left-hand side of the car, looking at the right-hand side of the car. Front body work coming off. The only damage I can see is a small bit of breakage onto the nose cone itself. Gerhard Berger waving his hands, wanting to get back out there, but they won't let this car back out until they know it's safe. We'll keep you updated.
All right, thank you, John.
Well, the only thing you can say about that, of course, is that this time they really can say that they were moving the car to a safer place. This can we push out or can't we push out in Formula 1 is a terribly, terribly grey area. The only time you can push it away is to push it out of harm's way if it should happen to start while it's being pushed. Apparently, that's okay. Seems a bit strange to me, but that's the way it is. He definitely...
You're back live at Phoenix. This is Andrew Merritt and John Watson here at trackside, where Jean Alesi is being hauled in by Ayrton Senna. Andrea de Cesaris is still 3rd. Nelson Piquet is 4th. Thierry Boutsen 5th. And Alain Prost, there you see him now, is in 6th spot. John, your thoughts so far?
Well, we're watching a really good race with Andrea de Cesaris. And Thierry Boutsen now, I think, is going to make it past Nelson Piquet. But Piquet, oh no! My goodness, Nelson Piquet really is driving like a racing driver again. We haven't seen this in him for such a long time. Thierry Boutsen's had about 3 or 4 looks down the inside, down Jefferson, but not yet made it.
Don't know, John, if Senna's got a little problem, but the gap has widened to 9 seconds. At the end of lap 13, it was 9.115 seconds between Alesi and Senna. Alesi lapping in 1 minute 32.5 seconds. Senna in 1:33.7. Chesler third, Piquet fourth, Boutsen fifth. Then it's Alan Prost. Prost putting in a quicker lap, 1:33.396, his quickest lap so far. Then it's Martini, Modena and Nakajima.
He might have been making a little bit quicker progress than he is, but of course he's bogged down right now in the middle of a group of cars, and probably they're not looking in the rear view mirrors, they're looking forward. So maybe Mansell is struggling a little bit more than he anticipated himself.
Again, we see the smoke screen behind the Prost Ferrari, the 7-speed gearbox semi-automatic. Big increase in power from Ferrari this year. Nigel Mansell did say to me a couple of days ago that when he first drove the Ferrari, he thought it had no more power than the Judd that he'd driven, of course, at Williams. They've obviously improved that situation now. That's not to discredit John Judd and the excellent job he's done. It's a small independent company building the race engines for teams like March and several others who use Judds, Brabham and Eurobrunn. Lap 14 and the gap now between Alesi and Senna, 9.293 seconds. There's Thierry Boutsen. Working away at the steering wheel. Quite a bit of kickback, John, through the steering.
Yes, all modern-day Formula One cars, they run so stiffly. The car is absolutely rigid. There's no suspension movement at all.
Gerhard Berger back on the racetrack.
And now it'll be up to Alan Prost to see if he can slide through. I think he'll manage it with a little bit more ease than Piquet did, probably because the Ferrari engine this year has got that little bit more power.
Home of Ford. They'll be happy to have an engine first and third. Piquet with the latest Ford engine, and of course Alesi with the engine which is 23 years old.
Andrew, what you're seeing now is that all the oil and the mist that's coming off the Ferrari is getting on our camera, so we're getting, imagine what Boutsen's visor must be like. He probably is really struggling now to see anything out of the visor of his helmet. Just probably will follow through, I think, given the next long part of the circuit where he can get a run at Andrea de Cesaris's Dallara Ford. But the oil smoke coming out of Prost's car is worrying, and whether that's going to enable him to finish the race, the amount that's coming out is going to be questionable. So we're going to have to keep a very close eye on Prost.
There's a very special view from a remote camera. Yes, in Grand Prix racing you're not allowed to top up the oil, of course. Still great showers of sparks, and Nelson just locking up a brake momentarily. The order after 17 laps, Jean Alesi leads by 7.1 seconds now from Ayrton Senna. Third is Nelson Piquet, 28 seconds back. Fourth is Alain Prost, followed by Andrea de Cesaris, Thierry Boutsen, Pierluigi Martini, Stefano Modena, Satoru Nakajima, Eric Bernard, Nigel Mansell, Oliver Gerhard, Aguri Suzuki and Gregor Wojtek. Ayrton Senna second, Nelson Piquet third, Prost fourth, Boutsen fifth, De Cesaris sixth, seventh, eighth and ninth is Martini, Modena and Nakajima. Then it's Bernard and Nigel Mansell still out of that top 10. Down into the 134s. There's Prost still smoking. Downtown Phoenix, USA. And the smoking Ferrari. Still unusual to see a Ferrari being chased by a Minardi. That's a team.
The Italian fans, they don't care. Ferrari, Minardi, as long as it's up. Oh, and he slid through. Martini has slid through. I think Alan Prost actually is not sliding. He's sliding backwards more than anything else. The problem that he has with this oil smoke is, I think, getting worse and worse. And we want to see Alan Prost, I imagine, coming into the pits. Look at the amount of oil and smoke coming out of the back of that car.
Yes, Stefano Modena just gone past him. And now.
Yes, and Nakajima also passing Prost. So Prost is on a trip into the pits, I suspect, at the end of this lap. And I would imagine that his race is over for the day. Another early shower, probably for Alan Prost today.
The gap now down to 2.5 seconds. Just 2.5 seconds between Alesi and Senna.
We can just see in the background, the last car in that picture is Nigel Mansell, Prost's teammate. So he's now going to make it, I think, into the top 10 at last. His car appears to be running cleanly, and Prost is almost stopping to let Mansell go through, which is a very intelligent and sensible piece of driving on the part of Alain Prost.
Well, is Prost coming in, or is he going to soldier on? That's the John Barnard designed car, the Ferrari. John, of course, now with Benetton. Let's just take the top 5 as Alain Prost comes into the pits. The top 5. Jean Alesi leads. Ayrton Senna is second. Nelson Piquet is third. Thierry Boutsen fourth. And Andrea de Cesaris is in 5th place. Well, it looks as Alain Prost's race was run. John, as you said, jumped out of the car.
Yes, it's been a very unsatisfactory
flag-to-flag coverage live on Eurosport. Every Grand Prix will be live on Eurosport this year. We'll also be bringing you Grand Prix weekend reports on Friday's practice and, of course, on Saturday.
With respect to Prost's comments on the handling here in Phoenix, wait till he gets to Monaco.
Well, it's true, and of course they did a test in Estoril in Spain where he finished, or rather at Paul Ricard in France, and he did a race length test. He finished 4 minutes quicker than he won the race.
Looked at earlier, Martini and Modena is just ahead. So Jean Alesi in that V8-powered, Pirelli-tired Tyrrell is doing just marvelously here at the U.S. Grand Prix in Phoenix. We'll be right back.
Jonkin verran täytyy myöntää, Mansell on luonnollisestikin tullut lähemmäksi kärkeä, mutta vielä tässä vaiheessa ero tuonne kärkeen oli ainakin ajallisesti pitkä. Valitettavasti tuo grafiikka, joka monasti auttaa meitä, kun katselemme näitä Formula 1-lähetyksiä tänä päivänä, niin kaudella 90 tuo TV-ruutuun aika ajoin ilmestyvä grafiikka, joka kertoisi kuljettajan sijoitukset ja aikaerot toisinsa nähden, niin sitä palvelua ei kovin paljon tarjoiltu kaudella 90, ja se on sääli, ja näin ollen niin nämä kuvat, jotka meille kaikille nyt välittyvät, niin täytyy olla aika lailla tarkkana arvioidessa, että kuka milläkin sijalla ajaa, ja kunhan tässä nyt vielä käynnistyy se ruljanssi, että miehet käyvät hakemassa autoihinsa vähän tuoreempaa kumia alleen, niin sitten tämä paletti vasta sekaisin menee.
Live with Eurosport at Phoenix, Arizona. John Watson and myself watching a fantastic race. Jean Alesi is still holding off Ayrton Senna, but there has been a change. Thierry Boutsen, who's moved up to third. Nelson Piquet is now fourth. Martini fifth, and Modena in 6th place. John, tell us about Nelson Piquet.
Nelson had a quick pit stop. I think he gave his tyres a real caning in the early laps in the race, and we did see a lot of tyre smoke coming off those tyres, so maybe they've gone out of balance. They've become so bad that he decided, prudence being the best choice, he came into the pits, had a very, very quick pit stop, left the pits, I mean, absolutely like a rocket ship, and is back out in the race and probably still running in 4th place. Suzuki has been part of that sort of package. It's one of a number of Japanese sponsors that are coming into Formula 1 racing, and of course I expect to see a number of Japanese drivers following Suzuki and Nakajima's path into Grand Prix racing over the next coming number of years.
Senna just putting the Larousse behind him. So it's worth recapping on that situation. We see Jean Alesi chasing after Ayrton Senna. 3.8 seconds now between the pair of them. In fact, I calculate the 4 teams are actually owned by Japanese companies. The new association between Middlebridge and Brabham. There's the Espoo Corporation, now owns the Larousse team. Arrows, of course, have been taken over by Footwork, and the people who started it all, Leighton House, own March. Tyrrell and Benetton also have Japanese sponsors, and of course with Canon, so do Williams. Canon being the first Japanese sponsor to enter Grand Prix racing. But Benetton have a very interesting a
major plan to build a racetrack and leisure centre in Japan. They've got something like a $500 million budget to do that, and manufacturers are making a very big move into Grand Prix racing. They're doing it, in fact, outside of motor racing and other forms of commerce, but certainly Grand Prix racing is seeing the benefit of Japanese money coming into it, and I wonder how long it is before we really can see a Formula 1 Japanese driver in a team like McLaren, a front-running team, and winning Grand Prix and ultimately maybe winning a World Championship.
I think that has to be possible in the 1990s. Folks getting a good view from up there, looking down on Ayrton Senna. There is Senna, now 4.3 seconds ahead of Jean Alesi. Thierry Boutsen another 37.5 seconds back. Piquet still in 4th place, then it's Modena. He hasn't been lapped yet.
Much more early in the race, so Let's keep an eye on Nigel Mansell and hope that that problem doesn't deteriorate for all those Ferrari fans back in Europe watching Eurosport this afternoon.
Nelson Piquet with Nigel Mansell after him now.
That telltale whiff of smoke is there, but of course Nigel will drive the car till it grinds to a halt, and with having got Nelson Piquet now in his sights, of course that's the greatest inspiration a driver can have, and that's to see the car you're trying to challenge and attack gradually getting closer to you.
So still a good battle for 4th, 5th and 6th. Piquet, Mansell and Modena. This is the 49th lap. This race is going to go fairly close to the 2 hours. Nigel Mansell bases himself at Port Erin in the Isle of Man.
Yes, he just slipped past fellow Brazilian Maurício Guzman in the very unpleasant handling March. I don't know what March have done wrong. They did a brilliant job in 88 and 89, and so far in 1990 it's been a disaster.
Many of the teams, John, not really running their 1990 cars yet.
Well, the car they've got is a development of the 89 car. It's not entirely a new car, but of course everybody has had to do a modification because of the regulations regarding the driver's foot box and other alterations. So it's in effect a fairly new car, but obviously the development time over the winter time has not caused any great improvement in the performance in the March. And I must say it's very disappointing that Adrian Newey heading the design team at March. He is, in my view, one of the leading up and coming brand of new young designers, so I would expect to see really a lot more from March, and I'm disappointed that they haven't made that leap forward over the winter time I had hoped for.
Quick word about the people that didn't make it into the race. 35 people came to Phoenix to race, only 26 made it. The 2 AGSs rather surprisingly didn't make it, Gabriel Tarquini and Yannick Dalmas, and that must be a very big disappointment for their new sponsor, the big Paris fashion house, Ted Lapidus. The Life didn't make it through pre-qualifying. That's the Italian car which Gary Brabham was going to drive. And the man they call the Panda, Claudio Langes, in the Europe run, he didn't make it through pre-qualifying either. Neither did Bernard Gachot in the Coloni Subaru. Gianni Morbidelli crashed out of the action in his Dallara, so he didn't get to run. Neither of the Onyx cars made it.
Something's blown up in the back of the Ferrari. Looks like the gearbox or something may have seized. There was flames. You can just see a little bit of flame coming from the back of the Ferrari. Mansell suddenly went out of control, coming down the straight into the braking area. And the car, of course, now is retired out of the race. But whatever that was, it looks like major gearbox problem caused the back of the car to lock up and seize. There was for a moment, there we see it again, Mansell coming down the straight, driving quite normally, totally in control. This reminds me of Adelaide 4 years ago when Mansell had a rear tire go. There we go, look at that flash fire. Something at the back of the car suddenly seized, and Mansell was very fortunate to get away with that, in fact not hitting anything at all. That was completely unexpected.
Do you think that the engine actually, we saw that cloud of blue smoke first, and I think perhaps the engine seized and locked the rear wheels?
Could be. Something certainly caused the rear wheels to lock and for the car to go out of control like that, and that amount of flat fire wasn't a petrol fire, that was...
Apparently got a number of superstitions. There's nothing new about that. Alan Jones used to race in blue underpants, I remember. Modena likes to climb in one side of the car only, and they do say he only...
If those don't fall into the regular pattern, then he's not maybe quite as happy with his lot on a given weekend, but realised they were coming out here a couple of days before practice began, and the fact that the team are here, literally the bones of a team, it's a great credit to the Brabham team and to Modena that they're running right now in the top 6.
And very interestingly, the Middlebridge company, which has bought Brabham, also have a Formula 3000 team that this year will be running Damon Hill and David Brabham. David Brabham's a fine runner, but that is Suzuki, I think, John?
Yes, I think it is. Seguro Suzuki has come to a halt now, so suddenly the field is becoming decimated. Yes, decimated is the word.
That's interesting. Behind there is a Greyhound bus garage, and they're actually on strike at the moment. Big stories on the news here about the Greyhound workers. In fact, they've put some new drivers in, and that's one of the biggest news stories out here in America at the moment. Well, I don't know what's going to happen with there. They're just having a discussion. Can't really tell if that's a... Senna wins the Phoenix Grand Prix. First blood to Ayrton Senna. Second place to Jean Alesi. He has still to come to the flag. Ayrton Senna, his 21st career victory. There's Stefano Modena. Alesi has now finished second. This is Piquet. Piquet going to hold off Stefano Modena. There's Senna. Where's the third place man? Waiting for Thierry Boutsen to come across the line. He has not crossed the line yet.
It's nice to see Jean Alesi. He pulled up alongside Ayrton Senna, gave him a little nod and a wave, acknowledging the victory, and I think Ayrton Senna in the years to come is going to have his mirrors full. In fact, it may be the other way around.
There's Thierry Boutsen and Nannini finishing. And this is Boutsen has now finished third. And this is the battle for fourth place, and it's going to go in the favour of Nelson Piquet. Nelson Piquet finishing fourth, and fifth Stefano Modena. And there the cheery wave from Ayrton Senna. Nakajima will finish sixth. Senna, the winner, 1 hour 52 minutes 32 seconds. Second, Jean Alesi. Third, Thierry Boutsen. Fourth, Nelson Piquet. Fifth, Stefano Modena. And in sixth place, it was Nakajima. 9 World Championship points to Ayrton Senna. 7th, Martini. 8th, Bernard. 9th, Patrese. 10th, Alboreto. 11th, Nannini. 12th, Schneider. So here we are. That is the end of the race. And there's Jean Alesi, who's happened with second place. Into the pit road. Coming up next on Eurosport will be the Brazilian Grand Prix.
Siamo in mezzo alla folla che come sempre si assiepa sotto il podio. La difficoltà è quella proprio di raggiungere le posizioni prima ancora che i commissari riescano a rapire i primi tre. Tentano evidentemente di non far perdere tempo per la premiazione, però è veramente interessante di solito sentire le battute a caso. Dopo un po' ci ripensano, le varie tesi vengono cambiate, uno si calma di più. Vedete intanto sul teleschermo la prima classifica col punteggio del mondiale conquistato dai vari piloti in questa prima parte, in questa prima gara del campionato. Senna 9 punti, Alesi 6, Piquet 4, Boutsen 4, Piquet 3 e via via a seguire per l'esattezza. Lo vogliamo ripetere, intanto vedete un tifoso brasiliano che corre sulla pista sventolando la bandiera nazionale. Senna dicevamo 9, Alesi 6, Boutsen 4, Piquet 3, Modena 2, Nakajima 1. In classifica Senna precede Alesi di 8 secondi 685, Boutsen di 54,080, Piquet di un primo 8 e 358, Modena di 1, 9, 503, Nakajima sesto a un giro. Il tempo intanto, come vedete, qualche ombra c'è, è leggermente migliorato, un pallido sole, ed eccoci su un primo piano di Ayrton Senna che dissettandosi si sta portando sul podio, dove il presidente Balestra al centro del teleschermo si prepara a premiarlo, mentre intanto ecco apparire la classifica costruttori con la McLaren 9 punti, Tyrrell 7, Williams Renault 4, Benetton Ford 3, Brabham Judd 2. Vedete che il punteggio non corrisponde a quello dei piloti, perché evidentemente quello dei piloti è per singoli, mentre quello dei costruttori viene assegnato ad entrambe le vetture, quindi il concorrente che riesce a portare...
Senna being congratulated, holding the trophy aloft, very happy, a position that he's been in many times before, but of course the person on his right an unbelievable drive and every reason to be one of the happiest men in the world at the moment, is Alesi. And even Senna now applauding the way he drove, quite rightly so too, and terrific effort. Boutsen, well, he's up on the podium again. Didn't win the race, but he's always seemed to be finishing in the points, Barry.
Yeah, he's always a really good placeman, Boutsen, but he doesn't have the sort of killer instinct. But Alesi, I mean, you've got to hand it to that kid. He's going to be standing up on that podium quite a few times this year, I should think.
Yeah, no doubt about that. I think we're going to see more of him, that's for sure. And I just hope that Tyrrell's got the resources and the backing to back him 100%, because I think he's if he does, I hope they get blessed with this.
Yeah,
I think that's where Senna will be heading.
I think Senna will be throwing the bottle at him, actually, not the champagne.
All right, well, let's take the opportunity now to recap the results. Ayrton Senna first in the McLaren, Alesi second in the Tyrrell, Boutsen third in the Williams, Piquet fourth in the Benetton, Modena fifth in the Brabham, and Nakajima sixth in the Tyrrell. The Drivers' Championships now, Ayrton Senna leads the World Championship with 9 points, Alesi is in second place with 6, Boots in third with 4, Piquet fourth place with 3, Modena in fifth place with 2, and Nakajima in sixth place with 1 point. The Constructors' Championship has McLaren-Honda out in front where they normally are with 9 points. Tyrrell is in second place with 7, Williams in third place with 4, Benetton in fourth place with 3, and Brabham in fifth place with 2 points.
Questa gara qua. Allora, come competitività, visto qualche volta che Senna e Alesi ha fatto una gara stupenda, hanno cambiato posizione 2 o 3 volte davanti da me, ha avuto la fortuna di poter vedere questo.
Ecco, e hai potuto vedere anche questo che è diventata non certo una sorpresa per gli addetti ai lavori, ma questo Alesi, tu lo conosci, tu sai come guida, cosa dici di questo Alesi?
Alesi non è una sorpresa per me perché lui ha guidato con noi in 3000, sapeva che lui era molto competitivo, come tanti piloti una volta che monta su una macchina, sale su una macchina competitiva, puoi dimostrare quello che è. Alesi da prima volta che ha guidato la 3000 già si poteva vedere che lui aveva talento.
Ecco, però il talento aggiungiamo noi e poi ti lasciamo andare, ce l'ha anche Moreno che è riuscito a dare vitalità, ossigeno a questo Eurobroom, riuscendo a recitare una parte importante, e tanti sapevano che Moreno è, oltre che simpatico, veramente un bravo pilota.
Sì, tutta la squadra ha lavorato molto bene e questa è una partenza per noi, per questo anno che appena inizia, e da adesso in poi arriverà i soldi, arriverà il sviluppo e una macchina più competitiva.
E Moreno chissà quanti campionati del mondo si fanno.
Vediamo, no? Questo è troppo presto da dire, ma vediamo a fine stazione.
Ciao.
Grazie Ezio, e abbiamo visto la premiazione dei primi 3 classificati, Senna, Alesi e Boutsen. Si è poi intravisto anche Ron Dennis, finalmente sorridente, che ritirava insieme a Ramirez, capomeccanico, direttore tecnico della squadra McLaren, il suo trofeo. E con queste immagini della folla di Phoenix noi vi salutiamo, vi diamo appuntamento fra 15 giorni.
Yeah, it was impossible for me to. Okay.
So I just left that open because you didn't hear me because you were on the dirt.
What's that? You launder the underwear?
Because I forget in my house.
One question for me. Okay, you ask the questions and I'll give the answers.
Both Ferrari stopped?
Both Ferrari stopped. One gearbox, one motor.
What gearbox?
Any tire. Ayrton Senna, congratulations on your 21st Grand Prix victory. You once again made it look easy.
Yeah, probably from outside, but Alesi was driving very well. He looked to have a good balanced car. Although he has less power here, the engine was not that important, and he had for sure good grip from the tires, and he was driving very aggressive, precise, and it was difficult to follow him and to wait for opportunity because he was very fast around the bends, and the only place to overtake was the end of the main straight. So I wait for some time. I was worried with the brakes early in the race being too hot, so I wait till the car got a little lighter, and then when we got in traffic he lost a little bit more time than I was able to close on him. Then I pushed hard to stay close, waiting for opportunity, and we were very close together in the first opportunity. I took him inside, and then I just didn't expect he would go around the outside on the dirty, because in the street circuit on the dirty is really dangerous. But he took a chance and did well. When I realized he wasn't there, if I just closed the door, we would have a crash, and there was no way. So I realized he was also in trouble with the dirty tires, and I opened, so he went through again. It was a bit exciting for us, and we wait again, another opportunity, and it was very close. I think he threw a fantastic race, and in some other races, for sure, we'll have them close to us again.
Well, let's ask Jean Alesi about that. Your 9th Grand Prix start, and here you are going wheel to wheel with Ayrton Senna. What do you think about that?
You know, I love racing, and I try to drive at my maximum, and for me it's a dream to race with Ayrton, because 2 years ago or 3 years ago he's again my hero. But when I was in Formula 3 and when he drove for Lotus, it was my big star. So for me it's incredible to race with him.
Well, the person who came third in the U.S. Grand Prix, Thierry Boutsen, taking on a little water down here. Thierry, this is your 100th
Petit ennui technique là m'a empêché de vous traduire ce que disaient Senna et Alesi. Eh bien, Senna a tressé de véritables couronnes à Alesi en disant que c'était un garçon qui conduit très bien, très vite, très agressif, qui était difficile à passer, et il a dû attendre qu'il y ait du trafic pour se rapprocher vraiment de lui et de trouver l'occasion. Et puis quand il l'a passé, eh bien ça s'est pas fait du premier coup, et finalement il a réussi à le faire. Mais c'était un grand moment de course, et Alesi lui aussi a dit qu'il a fait son maximum et que c'était une sorte de rêve que de se battre avec Ayrton Senna.
Looking ahead to the season. For a shorter answer, looking ahead to the season. Tell me what.
Alors nous allons conclure maintenant en vous rappelant que Ayrton Senna a remporté ce Grand Prix des États-Unis devant Alesi, Boutsen, Piquet, Modena et Nakajima. Les deux Ferrari ont dû abandonner, et rendez-vous dans 15 jours pour le Grand Prix du Brésil. Merci d'être resté si tard en notre compagnie. Ici Jacques Deschenaux à Phoenix, à vous le studio à Genève.
The car that competitive, and of course the street circuit is always a lottery. We have seen the Pirelli tires here going very fast, and competition is good for Goodyear, so I think both Goodyear and Pirelli are now going to fight very hard for improving their tires again and making a great championship this year. And we should wait now 2-3 races in different circuits to see how our car behaves in fast circuits. But since I'm driving, once I'm in the car, I'll be trying my best as usual.
As usual, it's a very competitive combination.
Yes, I think with the Honda engine, with the McLaren team, with a lot of testing, we have a good chance of fighting for the championship once more. And I hope I can bring back the #1 to McLaren next year.
Well, thank you and congratulations. Next.
That's it.
Thierry, congratulations. Excellent job. Jean, thank you very much. Congratulations.
Thank you.
100, buddy.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Well, we keep track of these things for you.
That's good.
As usual, the final results: Senna over Jean Alesi. A new star is born in Formula One. Thierry Boutsen, Nelson Piquet, Stefano Modena, and Satoru Nakajima. We'll give you a look at the rest of the top 12. Roberto Moreno and Mauricio Gugelmin, the only other cars still running at the finish. We'll be seeing you in 2 weeks from the Grand Prix of Brazil, Sunday, March 25th at noon Eastern Time. For David Hobbs, John Bizignano, and Marty Reed, I'm Bob Barsha. Thanks for being with us. So long, everybody.